So I was asked this question by Jade. I feel in a heightened state of anxiety. Other than meditation and mindfulness, what other techniques could I look at to help calm the mind? I feel this would ease some of the physical symptoms too. So great question, and I think you're right. I think doing other strategies to help regulate your nervous system is going to ease your physical symptoms. So let's just briefly talk about anxiety. What is it? There can be many causes of it. If you check out my channel on YouTube, then I've made a number of videos on anxiety. So I won't cover the same ground in this video, but I'd like you just to consider, what is the cause of anxiety, do you think? Is it past stuff to do with disconnection when we were younger, not getting our needs met, experiencing trauma? Was it triggered by becoming unwell and staying unwell, not recovering as quickly as you'd like? Is it to do with present stuff? Okay, is there stuff going on in your life right now that is contributing to that anxiety? It might be one, two, or all of those, or a combination of those, okay? So feel free to kind of let me know in the chat which it is, only if you want to. We need to understand the difference between fear and anxiety, okay? The difference between emotions, so fear is an emotion, and feelings, for instance, anxiety is a feeling. Again, I have talked about this in other videos, so very briefly, if you open the front door, you see a tiger, you're going to experience fear, okay? So Jade says all of them. Thanks for letting me know, all right? So fear is the instant emotional response to seeing a tiger, and that kicks in before the prefrontal cortex, the kind of clever brain, processes that there's a tiger, and then that part of the brain says, oh no, there's a tiger, he looks like he's hungry and he looks like he wants to eat me. That results in feelings of anxiety. So anxiety is created by the mind, okay, by the way we interpret our situation, and the emotion of fear is a more primitive, primal response, okay? So we need to just make that distinction. If I was working with someone who was saying, look, you know, I'm experiencing anxiety, I'd really want to dive a bit deeper and find out a bit more about what's going on in order to tailor an approach to help them. I would just say, in relation to meditation and mindfulness, it's really useful to, again, when I'm working with people, to really understand how they're doing the meditation, mindfulness, because not everyone, some people I chat to, it's clear they're doing it in ways that aren't really helping them and actually are just generating more stress and anxiety. And a question I'll ask you is, how do you respond to the sensation of fear or anxiety in your body? Okay, because it's important to understand that how we respond to the anxiety can actually fuel the anxiety. So let's say that you're experiencing the sensation of anxiety in the body, okay? Now, often what people do is that they then have a thought, oh no, I'm feeling anxiety. Okay, so they have a thought, and that results in an escalation of anxiety, okay? So now they're experiencing more anxiety, which means they're going to experience more sensations, which means they're going to have more thoughts, which means they're going to have more anxiety. So hopefully that makes sense, that you can see how this can become a kind of self-perpetuating loop. And actually what can happen is, when people feel uncomfortable feelings, they can suppress those feelings, they can avoid those feelings, they can distract, they can chastise themselves, they can give themselves a hard time, or they can catastrophize. And these will all fuel those feelings, all right? Now, those strategies are an attempt to protect you from the discomfort of those sensations, because as human beings, we are driven to avoid pain and to experience pleasure. So back to your question, it's a really good question, and there are certain things that I could talk about which are to do with how we disengage that loop, and I might talk about that briefly, but I want to start by addressing the question that you've asked, okay? Just understand that when we are in stress and anxiety, it's having impact on the body. It's affecting the muscles. If you've read John Sarno's book, he talks about that when we're in a state of stress, that can mean the muscles get less oxygen, that can result in pain. And I follow a practitioner of Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, and she talks about the fact that when we're in stress, this restricts blood flow, okay? So that can fuel the dysregulation. So first thing, any strategies to help you stimulate the vagus nerve can help. I've released a video on my channel where I take people through a guided Qigong exercise. So this is one strategy you can use to help regulate your nervous system. So check that out. Maybe I'll put the link below this video. Do remind me if necessary. I've also made a video where I share a technique for vagal toning. So again, check that out. And I've also created a document called 47 Strategies for Calm and Peace. If you'd like that. So Jade says, oh my God, I've just downloaded some Qigong videos from YouTube. So that is going to bring me back to a point that I wanted to make. Okay, I did want to answer your question, but I'm going to come back to that, all right? Because you've just said something very important. For instance, there's a book that I've got, which I kind of dipped into. A few people have mentioned it. It's called Accessing the Healing Power of the Vagus Nerve. A lot of it's quite technical, talking about polyvagal theory, and there are a few simple exercises at the end of the book. And one simple exercise that you might have seen people share, I think this is all over kind of Instagram, etc., is he talks about this exercise called the half salamander. So if you like, then you can do it now if it's safe for you to do so. All right. What you do is you look to the right. So you put your eyes to the right. You keep your head looking forward. Okay. And then you tilt your head to the right as far as is comfortable. So just gently stretching this part of the neck. And you hold it for about 30 seconds or 60 seconds, whatever feels comfortable for you. Okay. I'll gently come back now. So I'm staring right into the bright lights. And then you do the other side. So I look to the left. I just gently put a stretch in my neck. Just realised you can't do this exercise and look at the screen at the same time. Can you just hold it for about 30 seconds or 60 seconds? Always just do what feels comfortable. Use your intuition and then bring it back. And this is an exercise that Stanley Rosenberg says helps with vagal tone, and he shares some other strategies, which maybe I can make a separate video at some point. Some of them do require you lying on the floor, etc. But that's just a very simple strategy for you. You can do yoga exercise, because again, yoga exercise help tone our muscles, help release any tension in the body, and help regulate the nervous system. So I'm not a yoga teacher, but I do yoga on a daily basis, and I've done it since, on and off, since I was about 17 when I was experiencing stress and anxiety. And I tried medication, it just didn't help. And so I started doing yoga, all right? There are loads of yoga videos. I quite like Yoga with Adrienne, so check her out. But always, always, always use your judgment, okay? She did a challenge a while back, and there were some people with ME saying actually some of the exercises were too difficult. So always use your judgment. Go as gentle as possible. Fiona Agonbar is another yoga teacher who does videos for people with ME, okay? But always use your judgment. Okay, so I've mentioned Qigong. So I've mentioned that body movement technique. And the other thing that I would suggest in terms of anxiety is doing inner child work. This is something I teach on my Building Resilience course. So I won't go into detail now, but that can help us deal with the anxiety. So Jade says she is my favourite. Who? Just tell us who your favourite is of those. Is it Fiona Agonbar or Adrienne? Let us know. Now I just want to go back to something I was going to be saying. Okay, if we go back to what's going on when we're experiencing anxiety, your capacity to be present and witness your sensations without going to your mind, okay, without fueling the anxiety, is part of the solution. So we can do these strategies that help self-regulate, the physical strategies, but I also think it's really valuable ultimately to make some mindset shifts, to shift how we respond to those sensations in our body, okay? So Jade says Adrienne, excellent, and Alan says Susie Bolt is good. Excellent, so thanks for letting me know. If you've got any other recommendations, there's a chap called Lee Holden who does Qigong, who I like. I do Qigong on my own because I did learn with a practitioner many years ago. But we could do a real simple exercise right now. Again, I invite you to close your eyes, but only close your eyes if it's safe to do so. And what I'd invite you to do is just to connect to that part of you that has the capacity for wisdom. Many times in your life, you've just responded to a challenging situation in a resourceful way. Maybe you were faced with the challenge, or a family member or friend was faced with the challenge, and you just responded in a resourceful, calm, wise way. I invite you to consider that there is a part of you that has the capacity for wisdom. And that part of you can actually observe the sensations in your body, be they physical sensations and be they emotions or feelings. So you might be experiencing fear or anxiety. If the fear is not something you need to do anything about, obviously if you open the front door, there's a tiger, you want to close the door and call the zoo and the police or whatever. But if you're experiencing fear or anxiety and it's not something you need to respond to, then you can access that part of you that has the capacity for wisdom. And that part of you can just notice what's going on, to be witness to the sensations, to be present with the sensations, as if you would be with a child who was feeling anxious. You'd be responsive, you'd be receptive, and you can just notice what that part of you that's feeling anxious is experiencing. Notice what it's saying. It might be saying, "Oh, give us the punchline," or "I don't want this technique. I want you just to solve this for me." Okay, just notice that voice. It might be a voice that's often driving the show. Okay. Might be, for some people I work with, they have a voice that's very self-critical, and that results in them generating anxiety. Might be there's a part of you that worries what other people think. And I've had clients who have these conversations in their head where they're imagining what someone else would say about them when they overdo it. and when they've overdone it for the umpteenth time. And now they're feeling stressed because they're thinking of they're having this imaginary conversation in their head. Just notice that. Notice that stuff you do in your head. Just notice that's the part of you that operates from fear, and you can just allow it, welcome it. If we try and push away, suppress, avoid, then it's just like trying to push a cork away, pushing a cork underwater. It's going to bounce back. If you just stay with it, breathe, notice your breath, just have that capacity to be with the sensation, then it can pass. Okay. So I invite you to bring yourself back. And just let me know, what was your experience of doing that very short exercise of just noticing. I'd be interested to know, what's your takeaway from that question? So Jade says, extremely relaxing and helpful. Amazing. And what I wanted to say, Jade, is that your decision to go and download some videos, okay, was that part of you that's wise, okay? And so that's why I really encourage you to keep connecting to that part of you that actually came up with a solution, okay? You didn't need me to, hopefully I've given you some food for thought, but you found a solution, all right, which was an amazing solution. So Alan says, uncomfortable at first, but settled. And yeah, that's often our experience because we've been conditioned to have a particular response to the sensations that we experience. Many of us go to our head, we chastise, we catastrophize, or we distract. Interestingly, someone made a video in response to one of my videos today saying that people with these conditions don't catastrophize. I did. I'd be interested in your response. Would you say that's true for you, that you're someone who doesn't catastrophize when you experience a dip or strong sensations? I certainly did, okay? So being told that people with ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID don't catastrophize, that's not my experience personally, having worked with lots of clients who also say that they catastrophize, okay? So Jade says, yes, very much I do. Okay, so thanks for letting me know. I knew already that other people do because many people have told me that. I had to work on it. So good to know. That's great to hear, Alan.